Post Malone and Jelly Roll announce a second tour, Noah Kahan, Ella Langley, and so many more. This is the weekly update of our tour tracker series to help keep an eye on the state of the industry. So many tours. So let's dive in because there's a lot going on. As I guess, real quick, going back to the state of the industry, right? I talked about how Q1 looks pretty promising for this year, and then should build up to Q2 being a strong quarter. Q3 usually historically is always a little slower, and Q4 is usually a very strong quarter, right? And Q3 is usually a good quarter for like alternative or different type of programming for venues because of all the festivals, stadiums, and arenas take up so much inventory, and you will see that with all the tour announcements for this week. And on better news, right? The economy, regardless of politics. I don't care about the political stuff, but the stock market is up. Gas prices are down. So we'll see how that factors into people spending money on concerts this year. However, I am worried with the volume of tours that was announced, right? Knowing that last year, small venues by the end of the year had about a one, two, like a single digit dip in in attendance from the previous year. It's still dipping, right? It's still going down, so it's still down, but not a lot. So hopefully the small venues will be able to recover with as many big tours that are being announced. So let's dive into some of these tours. It's very, very interesting what's happening. So the first one I want to talk about is the Noah Kahan tour. Noah Kahan, for starters, just announced a new Netflix documentary that'll be coming out. This is going to come out, I believe, in March. So right before the tour starts. His tour kicks off in June. And then also there's also a new album coming out April 24th. And he just released a new single. And then another really cool spot or moment was at the Grammys when his commercial came on, which I think was a MasterCard commercial, some credit card, but was crazy. I knew we were going to commercial breaks, but then like 30 seconds in, I was like, wait, is this a commercial or is this a Noah Kahan music video? And it was just so brilliantly done that the commercial looked like it was a music. I mean, it was basically was a music video, but a music video for a credit card company. And me and many people I've talked to watched that commercial all the way through. So really well done to get eyeballs on that commercial and then dropping a new single, announcing the new album, announcing the Netflix special. So a lot happening in the world of Noah Kahan. Now, if you look at this tour, there's 23 shows, mostly major markets. If you're looking through the markets, don't really see anything that I would feel like is a big risk. So all strong markets. There's an arena tour ranging from 20 to 40,000 capacity. And some baseball stadiums in here as well, Wrigley Field. It looks like there might be a few other baseball stadiums in here as well. So pretty safe tour. If this on sale goes strong, right? It's what it's starting in June. I could see more dates happening. So just take a quick look at assuming it's already on sale, what the on sale is looking like. So it kicks off in Orlando, and then Gigi Perez is the opener. It's a pretty solid opener on this tour as well. So the public on sale for this tour is February 12th. So I'll keep an eye out on this tour to see how this on sale goes. But so announced last week with a bunch of other tours, which I'll cover. And February 12th is the on sale. So this week, so get your tickets if you're a Noah Kahan fan. The next one is the Post Malone and Jelly Roll tour. This is the second time they're doing this tour. This is going to be 25 more shows. So last year they did a very, very successful tour, right? It's one of the top 10 tours of worldwide tours. They did 36 shows, sold 1.3 million tickets, $197 million gross. So what did I say? You have 25 more shows that are announced for this year. Another one, if this goes up strong, I could see them adding more dates. They're calling this a big ass stadium tour. And this is another example of what I talked about in the state of the industry, right? It's just really creative packaging. Post Malone, Jelly Roll, probably on alone could do their own arena tours and probably be very, very successful. But together, they're selling double the number of tickets, right? So if you're looking at the average number of tickets sold across those 36 shows was 38,000. So if you divide that by two, that's more than two sold out arena tours, right? Can either one of them headline a stadium alone? I don't think so. But together, it adds a whole lot more value to the package of the tour. So I think this is going to be a really, really exciting tour coming this summer. They're playing a few festivals, and then the rest is all stadiums, right? And some massive stadiums. They're playing Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, which is over 100,000 people. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But Jelly Roll more so than Post Malone. Jelly Roll's been in the news and the media a lot, right? Over the last year, I feel like every TV show or award show, like he's had a presence there. So he's had a lot of exposure on TV, maybe not necessarily new music, but a lot of TV exposure and just a lot in the public eye. He's been on a Joe Rogan podcast 2 times over the last year. He has the whole giant weight loss success, right? So it'll be very interesting to see how this tour does, because he's just constantly in the spotlight, and this tour was already successful. The reviews of the tour have been amazing. So I would not be surprised if this is a very, very strong tour. Let me see if anything's on sale yet. So this tour looks like it's already on sale. Looking at El Paso, probably not a major market, but it'll still be interesting to see how El Paso is looking. So I see a whole lot of blue in here. All the golden seats right there is probably some kind of VIP. Yep, so these are all your VIP packages. Still a whole lot of blue, but it is a stadium. The show doesn't start until May 13th, so there's still a whole lot of runway and a whole lot of time for this. Let's take a look at another one. So just for my own curiosity, Baton Rouge, not too far away from where I'm at. Let's see, this is a different ticketing platform. Just zoom in here. So a whole lot of VIP still available on this. Looks like all these seats in the back are possibly gone. There's always seats that are held. So be aware if you're a promoter of held seats. But looks like the floor is doing well. Let's just go out into the sides real quick, because that's another very popular section. See how we're doing here. So it looks like all the VIP is still available. Not a bad price for VIP, actually, $561. Especially considering that some tickets are selling for over $1,000 for other shows. That's crazy. $440 for a regular seat compared to VIP. But yeah, it seems like there's still a decent amount of tickets left in Baton Rouge too. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll keep an eye out on this for the tour tracker and see how this tour wraps up. And then the last one that we'll give a spotlight on, and then we'll mention all the tours that are on sale, and just some other very quick industry news about the touring industry. But the other one I want to highlight is Ella Langley, 16 shows. So she's a very new artist. Ella had the recent success of the Academy of Country Music Awards, where she had a record of seven nominations and 5 wins, and those included Single of the Year and Best New Female Artist. Also, another thing to note is her Spotify growth, right? So if you look on Chartmetric, she was on 7 million monthly listeners just about a year ago, and that's almost tripled, right? She's at 18 million monthly listeners right now. It's all uptrending, and if you look at all her data on Chartmetric, right? So even her Spotify AP score is gone up significantly. So once you're up, but like above 50, going up in this score gets a lot more challenging, right? And the fact that she started at 72 and 83 with the maximum being 100, very strong growth here, very strong growth on YouTube, very strong growth on YouTube audience, TikTok, massive growth here, Pandora, right? So she's consistently growing on every single platform, and is in the spotlight as well, right? So it'll be very interesting to see how this tour does. When I first saw an arena tour for Ella and like some amphitheaters, some small amphitheaters, I thought it was very ambitious, seeing arena tour, but even like seeing like Hertz Arena in Southwest Florida, these are smaller arenas. So looks like there's a lot of like ice hockey arenas, which are usually below 10,000. The NBA, NHL arenas are going to be in the 12 to 17,000 range. So this seems like a very smart play. At first glance, when I heard arena tour, I was like, that's very ambitious. But seeing this, it's usually mostly these smaller arenas, it's probably very realistic. I would have thought maybe a performing arts center tour that's 2,500 to 3,500 capacity probably would have been a guaranteed sellout. But I don't think these capacities are too crazy. And I would not be surprised if Ella Langley ends up adding more dates. And let's just take a look to see if these shows are on sale. Wow. So here in Toledo, Ohio, wow, it's crazy. Looks like that show sold out. So all the Reds are just resale tickets, and then you just have a few VIP tickets left. So it looks like you're just down to VIP, unless it's not officially on sale yet, and it's just all part of some pre-sale. But looks like that show is pretty much clean. Let's take a look at another one. So this is the Hertz Arena in Estero, Florida, which is basically Fort Myers, what's the other one? Fort Myers area, right? There's another big market there that I'm blanking on. Clean. That's crazy. I mean, it looks like you just have some pit tickets left. So you can buy face value tickets in the pit or actually verified resale. So these are all resale tickets. So that went clean. Let's look at one more further down the road on this tour. Here we have Austin, Texas. Same thing. Nothing but resale tickets. So this tour looks like it went clean. So shame on me for thinking she couldn't even do the NBA or NHL arenas yet. That this was a good look. She probably could have gone bigger. So I would not be surprised if you see more dates being added here. Either let's just look at the routing, right? See if there's even room for second shows. So the routing's not too tight. So it's a very typical weekend warrior that you see in country music, right? Where it's those, where it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or sometimes even a Sunday. So it looks like it's the very typical traditional routing. So I wouldn't necessarily predict second dates being added to any of these, but I would not be surprised if you see more dates being announced in late August, September, October. Also, looking at the markets, there's a lot of C and B markets, right? So, of course, Dallas Fort Worth is a big one, Austin's a big one, but there's plenty of room for other areas that she could play. So I would not be surprised if you see a tour announcement in NHL and NBA arenas beyond August. So we'll keep an eye out on that for the tour tracker. And then just some quick, some honorable mentions or other tours that have been announced. Here's all the tours that were announced last week. So Godsmack with Stone Temple Pilots was announced. Noah Kahan, Post Malone and Jelly Roll, Ella Langley, Goose, Lindsey Stirling, Tim McGraw, American Football, Zayn doing their 25-year Break the Cycle tour, anniversary tour, Don Toliver, Ari Lennox, Black Veil Brides, Buckcherry, The Metric with Broken Social Scene, Mitski, Motionless in White, 5 Seconds of Summer, Carin Leon, and Zayn. So a lot of tours are all announced last week, the week of February 2nd, which is a whole lot of tours. And they're all going out in late April and through the summer. So all these tours are starting, and they're anywhere from 15 to 30 shows each. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how the economy is able to handle that volume of tours. Not a lot of big ones going out. I'm sure there will be more tours announced over the next few weeks, but in leading up to that time, right? And then speaking of tour tracker, keeping track of things, Chris Stapleton, right? So that's one of those. We'll get some recap real quick. Chris Stapleton, all of his February shows are sold out. So that's very, very strong showing for Chris Stapleton. So if you go here on his website, right, everything's sold out for the month of February. So I would not be surprised if you see more sellouts in some of these stadiums that he's playing. And he's playing with Lainey Wilson and Alan Stone. So that's a great lineup, right? So speaking of getting a lot of value from your package, I would not be surprised if you see many more sold out shows, if not his entire tour selling out. Grace Potter, that's something I would love to see. Chris Stapleton with Grace Potter. Just quick check in on Charlie Puth. That was a tour that we announced recently. So if you look at his, and that's where we mentioned, right, where it's very smart touring, where there was a good mix of arenas and theaters, which is very smart on how this tour was booked. Now, if you look at his so far, the sort of San Diego show, not knowing much details or context, this has now been on sale for a couple of weeks. This would look concerning to me, right? Seeing this, if I was a manager, agent, promoter, seeing this many seats still available. This tour starts in April 22nd, so in about 2.5 months. This would look concerning. Let's take a look at another one for him. Let's look at one of these theaters. Phoenix, Arizona. I see a lot of dark blue. So again, this is another one. Phoenix maybe looking a little bit better. It looks like theaters is probably the right size venue that this tour should have been in. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll continue to monitor this on the tour tracker and to see how the Charlie Puth tour wraps up. And then the last one we'll take a recap on is the Madison Beer tour. And let me just go to the first US date. So first date is in June 8th in Austin, Texas. If you look here, so at this kind of similar to what we saw last time, the balcony looks like it's closed off and just as the lower bowl is open. It's actually looking decent. So from what we saw last week, there's a whole lot more blue, right? A whole lot more dots. So this is actually looking decent. Now we don't know if there's any rows being held or blocked, right? So a lot of times you have holds. So that's the actually correct term to start with. So sometimes you hold tickets. These are called holds, and there's holds for artists. There's promoter holds. There's production holds. There's holds just to make the show look like it's selling better. But seeing all these rows gone and a lot of resale tickets already, this looks really good, and with it starting in June, right? I feel like if this continues moving in the trend where these tickets are selling, I could see the balcony opening on this tour. So let's look at one more. And if you look in Inglewood, California, a major market, right? So if you look in here, the balcony is open on this tour. And if you look, the floor pretty much gone. The lower bowl getting close to being gone. So they're starting to sell tickets in the upper bowl. So this tour, though off to a slower start, but still a very strong start, right? This is only 2 weeks on sale. So considering that we're already in the upper bowl and selling a lot of tickets there, of course, Inglewood, right, being LA, being a major market, not surprised that the major's selling well, but I feel like Austin is going to catch up, and I would not be surprised if that balcony opens up, and then this tour will be a very, very successful and healthy tour. And that's the update on Madison Beer. And then some quick industry news updates in the world of touring. Shakira sets an all-time touring record for Latin artists with the Las Mujeres tour. The production on that tour was ridiculous, but this tour did over 421 million in sales. They sold over 3.3 million tickets over 86 shows. So that was a super, super strong and successful tour. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to add more dates for this one. It looks like they added a few one-off dates in the Middle East. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue that tour or if she's going to go focus on the new album. But that's a super, super successful tour. The Nine Inch Nails tour is about to kick off. I've actually seen a lot of ads for New Orleans on this tour, so it looked like it did kick off in New Orleans last week. So we'll take a look on how that did for next week's tour tracker. And then Neil Young, first set of cancellations. So he canceled his European tour dates. Says here, I've decided to take a break and will not be touring in Europe this time. This tour was supposed to kick off in June. So who knows if it's health reasons or other reasons why this tour is canceled, right? But a first cancellation for a big tour that I've seen so far this year. And that is it. That's the tour tracker for this week. So a lot of exciting updates. This one was a little longer, but because of the volume number of tours. But let me know what you'd like to see for this series. What would you like me to cover? Do you like the format? Do you want to see some changes in the format? This is only the third one we've done, so it's kind of growing along the way. And this is fun. It's a great way to kind of keep track on how tours are doing. If you want access to the spreadsheet, I'll put that over on Patreon. So I have a spreadsheet of all the tours. I'll just put that in the dollar level. I mean, you want to contribute something, right? If you want to contribute something, but there's also other cool levels and courses and all kinds of things I have over there. But thank you all for watching. Until next time, spread love, positivity, and kindness. And remember, there's light in the darkness, and the darkness will never extinguish it. Peace, my friends.